Hello all, welcome back to Career with Vasant YouTube channel. My name is Vasant. I hope you all doing well. This is a very important video series, as you all know, where we are discussing about different companies interview. We have already discussed about Infosys and Capgemini. Today I'm back with a new video where I'm going to discuss all the interview questions and answers that was asked in EPAM Systems. So EPAM System is a famous software company. They are hiring quite aggressively. I have seen their hoardings across multiple places in the Bengaluru. Okay, so in this particular video, where I'm going to ask a lot of questions that was very recently asked, just 15 days back in EPAM Systems, primarily on the front end. I'm going to divide probably into round 1 and round 2, or if more questions, as I have more questions, I might divide into round 1, round 2 and round 3. Okay, if you can just support me by subscribing to my channel, liking the video without wasting further time. Just before we start, I want to tell you about a new tool that I've been using quite aggressively last few days, and it's been very handy for me, and I have built a lot of application using that. I wanted to give an overview. I had a requirement to build a video calling application, and my timeline was very limited. So I was looking for a tool online with which I can build a video calling application with most or the minimal code that I could do. Okay, so I encountered a tool called Zygo Cloud, a build powerful interaction apps with voice, video, and chat API, where they provide a various different services like video call, voice call, live streaming, in-app chat, cloud recording, AI effect, and much more. Okay, and the most beautiful part that I liked about Zygo Cloud is they have something called a UI kit. Let's say you log in and you just click on the create project, and you let's say you select voice/video call and hit next. Okay, specify the project name and choose the platform where you want to integrate your video call. Everything is readily available. So let's say you want to build Android, you have a code ready. iOS, web, React Native, everything that you want to build, the code is readily available for you. All you have to do is just specify the project name, install the SDK, start using their code, and immediately your video call starts working. And the another most important point that I liked about them is they have a video call feature, as you already told, and it is fully customizable. For example, now one-on-one call, you want to make a standard beautification, you can include it. You want in the group call, how the users has to be shown on the group call, that also you can specify. How the UI should look like, all of that you can just specify by toggling the options here. Copy the code, put it in your project, everything works for you. You don't have to worry about how to put different images on the screen for different resolution of mobile, different resolution of tab. All of that is taken care by the Zygo Cloud. And the eyes on the top is, as soon as you register, you get 10,000 free minutes. So as soon as you register, for next 10,000 minutes, you don't have to pay anything for the Zygo Cloud. Only after that you have to start paying. How beautiful is it? So for next video calling requirement, please go video calling, or any of your media requirements actually, please go. Let us start with exercise number 1. So one of the common interview question, they explain, call, apply, and bind. Okay, I'm sure a lot of you might have encountered this question in the interview, but including myself, a lot of us might have learned call, apply, bind by watching Akshay Saini's video on YouTube channel, and that is one of the best video to understand call, apply, bind. But only problem is after you evolve to certain point where you need to know some practical use case for it, because how we are using it on a day-to-day basis, correct? That's what makes you different from a junior developer. Now you understood call, apply, bind, let us understand a little bit in depth. So I've written certain scenarios actually. So let's say you imagine a CEO of a powerful company, but you need to control who gets to make decision. Okay, so that is where. So here CEO is nothing but a function, and whatever who need to take, like who make the decision, that you're gonna do using help of the call, apply, and bind. Okay, how actually call, apply, and bind can help you as an assistant to a CEO to do certain things. I'm gonna explain. Okay, call is your direct and assertive assistant. You tell them who is in charge and what arguments present, and they call the functions immediately. Okay, let me explain with a simple example. Okay, most of this jargon sometimes people don't understand, so I'm explaining you with an example. Okay, so where let's say we have a car object. So car object has make and model. What is the make and what is the model? Okay, now we have a motorcycle function to which, let's say we pass this car object, we should be able to log this value. Okay, so what I have done, motorcycle, I have a make, I have a model, and a start engine. Okay, as soon as I call the function motorcycle dot start engine dot call, I'm passing the car object. So I'm doing a console dot log this dot make and this dot model, correct? In this case, this dot make and this dot model, whenever you're passing the car object, as you all know, this represents to this particular object. With which object you are calling, that is this referring to. Okay, let's say you call this function by motorcycle dot start engine dot call, you'll be getting make and model s, Tesla and model s. Okay, let's say otherwise, let's say you're not passing any object here, just you are calling it, then by default it will refer to this. Okay, this example is for you to again understand the things quite comfortably, but let us understand a practical use case where do we use it. Let's take a scenario where, let's say you are logging, whenever there is some, let's say user clicks on a particular button on the screen and you want to log that onto your some logging server you have, wherever you're keeping a track. For example, you're using, let's say Swiggy has built an application where how many times they want to know people is clicking on checkout button, correct? They might have kept some common function to log the events. Usually in a big project, what happens, there'll be one common place such events are kept and they're invoked from multiple different places. Because of that, what will happen, there'll be some default parameters, some optional parameters. Like some parameters you have to pass, some parameters are like already available, correct? So let's say you don't pass that parameters, they have to pass some default values. In that case is where you can use the call. Like for example, make and model, whatever you see, that could be like your default values. And whatever the start engine, like log something, whenever you call, you could pass your own make and model, or you can just opt to pass whatever is already present. You don't need to pass whatever already part of the object that get logged. Okay, that's how you could use it. Is it the only way to log the values whenever you have fixed parameter and optional parameters? No, there are different ways in TypeScript, but this is also one of the way that you could use. Okay. Now let's go to the second one, that is apply. Okay, apply is more formal. You provide a list of arguments to your assistant to distribute during the meeting. Function call. Okay, like say you have an assistant, you tell like, let's say do this thing in a particular meeting, that is equivalent to apply. I'm going to explain how it is. And just before we continue further, like all these questions will be freely available for you on my GitHub repository or my new book or my blog somewhere. So you don't have to worry about noting down. Everything will be available in the description. Okay, so apply. So apply, let us take a simple example. So we have a button. So where we have a document or get element by ID, click me. Okay. Then we have a user, a big object. Like for example, user has a name, update name is a function. Okay. We are passing like this dot name is equal to new name we are doing. Okay. Let's say we have a button with whatever the button title was, click me. Now you want to change that button item, like button dot add event listener dot click. Whenever somebody clicks on that button, you want to change that button's name into Career with Vasant. You could achieve it using this apply bind method. Okay, so that's how you can use the bind. So these are some of the practical examples for a bind. A lot of you might know what is call apply bind. This is a practical example. Okay, sorry, this is a practical example for apply. I'm sorry. Next is the bind. Okay, bind is again according to me super important. I have used it across multiple different places. So I'm going to give you an example. So this is not the example that I've probably used in the practical project, but you could say, let's say there are two arguments and one of the argument is, let's say, static. In TypeScript, you could specify a default value here, but if you're using plain JavaScript, there is no direct way to specify. Okay, or you could specify here also, but that's not like the most beautiful way of doing it. So, but instead, what we could do, calculate bind null comma 10. Okay, so with this, what we are doing, the value of the height, we are setting it as 10 in this line in the bind. Okay, further on, whenever you invoke the calculate area method, like calculate with 10. Further on, every time when you're invoking, the value of height is always set to 10. Okay, that's the beauty of the bind method. So future, every time now the call apply bind you are using, please remember these examples, and especially whenever using the bind, the best example that you give is partial function application. Let's say a function has X number of arguments, but some arguments already have a default value. That is the right use case for using the bind. Okay, now let's go to exercise number 2. Explain JS execution and event loop. See, this is very important, and I have got like a lot of mixed explanation on the online. So I want to give you a proper explanation that you need to tell in the interview. Okay, so let's say this is the whatever you are seeing on the screen, right? We have a function foo and function bar, and const bar is equal to bar of 7. Why I told like there are a lot of things that is available on the internet. The people who say like macro task queue, event, so many jargons that I never read on the official documentation. So I'm going to explain everything that is only there on the official documentation, which you can tell without any problem in the next interview. So let's say we have the function foo followed by function bar, and we have a const bars. We are calling the bar as 7. As most of you might know, this is directly taken from the official documentation. So I'm calling a function called bar and I'm passing a 7 here. Okay. So whenever JavaScript encountered this particular function, it has created a execution context. Okay. Execution context, I think you can consider like a one box that contains everything for a function to get executed. Okay. Next, this is done. Now, as and when it encounters the bar, it comes inside the bar. So here we have another function called foo. So foo is above, correct? So for that, now another execution context is to be created, correct? Once the execution context is created, if you observe here, whenever the bar came, it added one frame into the event loop, okay, into the stack. And whenever it encountered the foo, it added another frame into the stack, okay? And what would happen is, let's say it execute the foo frame, because you calculate this and it returns the values, and when this value is returned, that particular frame is popped out from the stack. Okay, and then whenever this bar has completed the execution, that frame is also popped out from the stack. There will be one global execution context. Once complete execution is over, that is also actually getting popped out from the stack. Okay, now there is another thing called heap. Correct? As you are observing, there is another thing called heap. What is heap? Heap is a largely unstructured storage. Probably it could be from like either from the RAM's memory, ROM memory, or it is from the hard disk. It could be from anywhere. The browser, the whatever the memory that browser could access, spread across different storages, that we are calling here as a heap. Okay, whenever any asynchronous task like set timeout, set interval, such things come, they go and sit into this heap memory. It could be from any memory location, putting other way. Once they complete the execution, they come and sit in this messages queue. Okay, and whenever they come and sit in the messages queue, and whenever this stack is empty, JavaScript will start processing these messages. Okay, a lot of people do this mistake where they say like messages are executed directly. No, they are not executed directly. Messages are actually moved from here to here. Messages are moved from queue to a stack because a fresh frame is created. Let's say you have a set timeout. Inside there is a callback function. Consider that callback function as a frame. That function is moved into stack and the JavaScript will execute that. Okay, so don't get confused where the task will be directly executed from the queue. Now, last important point before I go to the next question is, whatever the delay that you are giving into set timeout, that is the minimum. I think why you got the problem, why it is, because we have so many frames on the stack. Unless the stack is empty, the queue will not be getting executed. Correct? So let's say your set timeout is completed and it came as one of the messages here, but the stack is not empty. It will not execute after a specified duration of time. Okay, so always remember that whatever the delay that you are passing into set timeout is not the delay, it is the minimum delay that function need to get executed, after which it should get executed. Okay, now let's go to next question, that is exercise number 3, var let and const. Okay, again another super important interview question. I've actually instead of like me explaining everything step by step, I've actually documented them very much in this diagram. I'm going to put this diagram also in the repository, so don't worry. So feature, scope, var, let and const. Scope, var is a functional scope, I think all of you know. Let is a block scope, const is a block scope. Correct? Block scope means whatever the block they specify, they can be only accessible inside that block. That too, they cannot be redeclared. Okay. Hoisting, yes, var is hoisted, declared at the top. Let is also hoisted, const is also hoisted. Okay. Hoisting initialization, yes, only var has got initialized with that undefined. Okay. In case if you don't know hoisting in depth, I have made a beautiful video. The link to video on the screen, also in the description section. Please go ahead and check it out. Hoisting, var, yes, initialize it to undefined. Let, no. Const, no. Both have hoisted, but they don't have a default value. They'll be, as you all know, in a temporal dead zone where their value cannot be accessed. Again, if you don't know temporal dead zone, that also I've clearly explained. Please watch the video. And third thing is the reinitialization. Var can be reinitialized, yes. Let can be reinitialized, yes. Reinitialization here we mean, let's say let x equal to 10, x can be later redeclared to 20. Same applies for var, but const we cannot do it. As the very word indicates, const is something constant. We cannot change it. Correct? And last thing is the initialization. Var required, let not required, const required. Let's say you create a variable called let x. You don't have to define a value to it. You don't have to initialize it. Correct? In case of var as well, but const should have a value. Without declaring a value, you cannot use a value. You cannot create a variable. Reason for that is also again simple. It's a constant value. You cannot change it later. So whenever you create it, you should create a value. So everywhere, wherever possible, please use const as much as possible. What is the reason? Because it already have a predefined value. So the execution is very simple with respect to this. So JavaScript, once it creates that, as long as it has a reference, it will not be like garbage collected and the value will not change. So always use const wherever possible. I think most of you might have already stopped using the var. I'm sure in couple of reasons var might get totally removed from the support from the new versions of the ES. But I think only because of some old apps that are still using the var, I think it is still have support. Okay. Now, let's go to exercise number 4. Very, very important question. Okay. I'm sure like lot of you might have not aware of this particular question. First, as soon as I've encountered this question, I myself actually stunned like what is this question? See, explain primitive types in JavaScript beyond number, string and boolean. As soon as they ask like explain primitive types in JavaScript, the first thing that comes to our mind is like string, boolean and the number. Correct? What are primitive data types in JavaScript? They are building blocks that represent simple indivisible piece of data. Okay, indivisible piece of data, we mean what? For example, object has first name and last name. So first name and last name can be divided and assigned into new block, correct? But whereas let's say if you put like let x equal to 10, that is indivisible. X is 10, no matter what, x is always 10, correct? That's what we are telling as a primitive data types in JavaScript. Okay, so all we know, most of us would know, is primitive data types are just string, boolean and number. These are the only data types probably most of us would know. But there are other primitive data types I realized. Okay, first one is symbol, second one is big int, third one is undefined, fourth one is null. Okay, nobody might have thought like undefined and null is also primitive data type. Okay, I'm going to explain now. So symbol, being very frank, I have never used symbol so far any of in my project. I actually searched across a lot of Janai and other tools as well. Nowhere I found like lot of information about symbol. Like I don't see like most of us are using symbol. What symbol is actually a unique and immutable identifier useful for creating a private properties within an object or for creating unique keys in an object. Okay, why putting in very simple words? Let's say you have unique symbol 1, unique symbol 2. We have created a simple and we have passed this, correct? See what we have done, we have two strings. Okay, it actually have the same value. If you use the same string, probably this would have, not probably, this would have become true, correct? If unique symbol 1 is equal to this unique symbol 2 is equal to this unique symbol, both would have been equal to true, correct? But just because you are creating with the help of a symbol, now both are not equal, false. Symbols are always unique. Okay, so let me zoom in a bit so that for you guys reading becomes a little easy. So symbols are always unique. So when we could actually use it, let's say in JavaScript, we are using multiple libraries. Whatever the key that we are using somewhere might have been used for the other representation also. For example, you're using a key like user underscore name. That user underscore name might have been used by the other module also. So if you have to be sure, like nobody else is using it, just pass that to a symbol. So that symbol of user underscore name is not equal to somewhere else, whatever they are representing. Okay, that is the user symbol. I have not used it. Again, I recommend if there is any opportunity like this, please use it. I think again you got the point. Let's say you have two constant variables with, not variable, let's say two constant strings with the same name, or you want to protect your name because there is somebody, you are using a big project where somebody else might have used that. So always pass that within the symbol. Okay. Next is big int. I have made a beautiful video about big int where one of the Facebook interview question that I have asked. Again, link to that I put here also in the description section. So where big int, by default, whenever you use number, right, we represent a 64-bit number, 64-bit floating point number, whenever we are telling about a number. But whenever we are telling about a big int, it's actually a much bigger number. Whenever we have to represent a very big number, right, we'll be using the big int. So this is also a primitive type. Okay, this is introduced in the ES 2020. So primarily where we could use, let's say what is the factorial of 10? I'm sure most of you cannot tell because a very big number. Such numbers cannot be kept within the number variable. Okay, so we have to use the big int in that case. Undefined and null, they are also primitive types because they are unchangeable, correct, or indivisible. What is undefined and null difference? That also I'm going to quickly tell. Undefined, whenever you create a variable and it is not initialized with anything, then that particular variable is undefined. Null is not like that. Null, you are defining a value, you are telling like there is nothing. Undefined, you are not saying, so by default we are considering you are not defined anything. Null is the exact value that you are telling. That is the only difference. Okay, both probably represent nothing, but they both have a different ASCII value, and they both also represent the different thing. So undefined, you are not defined any value. Null, in very simple words, represent you specifically saying there is nothing. Okay, let's go to exercise number 5 quickly. So discuss big int and symbol data types in JavaScript, their purpose and how use them. Again, I've already explained, this is one of the other questions that was asked in the interview. Okay, now before I go to 6th question, I'm sure you might have liked so far whatever the content I made. If so, please like the channel, subscribe to my channel Career with Vasanth. That will help him to make more content. If you like the video, more impression I would get. More impression means more view. That will really help me to grow my channel. That's the whole purpose of creating a channel, is to help people to clear the interview. That I put a lot of effort making such video. I don't expect anything just other than your love. So please love or show your love by following me and subscribing. Okay. Now let's go to exercise number 6. Explain the concept of sets, weak set, maps and weak maps in JavaScript and their use case for managing the collection. See, I'm sure very few of you might have used sets in the very first place. Map also, I think the same way. Array is something that all of us are using very extensively, correct? Now let's go to thing like when to use sets and when to use map. Then I explain the weak sets and the sets, and weak set and weak map both. See, in very simple words, set is nothing but a unique collection of elements, correct? For example, if you come here, we have 1 2 3 1 2, it's an array, correct? So array allows duplication of elements. Let's say you put the same value into set of numbers, then it actually becomes a unique array. Only unique elements will be kept on the set, okay? So where there is no duplication is not allowed in case of sets. But set only holds the primitive types. Not primitive types, actually it only holds like it only holds the primitive types. There is no object that can be kept on the set. It's not a key value pair. It's only a value that you're going to store on the sets, okay? So what is a weak set? Weak set and set are almost the same. The only difference is with respect to the garbage collection. Set is like when let's say you created a set and JavaScript would not immediately clear it from the memory. Whereas whenever you create a weak set scope is a small, only within that particular scope, like within this scope, correct? So JavaScript, let's say whenever it sees like there is no reference, then there is a chance that it would clear certain elements within the set or the set itself, okay? The only difference between weak set and a set is like how the garbage collection happens. In a set, as long as there are reference to any key within the set reference is not removed or it is not garbage collected. Not necessarily like the entire set need to have any one key in the set. If it's still having a reference also, it will not clear, okay? But in case of the weak set, there is a chance where let's say there is one key is not having any reference, like nobody is asking that value, then there is a chance JavaScript might garbage collect it. And next thing is a map. Map is a key value pair, as the very word says. In JavaScript, or if you're from a Java background, you know like there's a key value pair, like we call it hash map. Same goes to the JavaScript, where let's say you want to store a key value pair. You created a map and you want to store like 1 and the whatever the value that you need to store against that 1. So 1 is a key here, this is the value. Again you're storing a key as Bob and you're storing the value. The beauty of map is both, not the key, the key can be of any primitive type. It need not to be like a number. Key can be of type number, key can be of type string, okay, or other different primitive types, but actually makes sense is actually number and string are the one that makes sense as a key. Value can be again object, anything actually. It can be object, it can be array, it can be any of the primitive type, non-primitive type, all of that are allowed. So when you would use it, I'll give you a beautiful example. Let's say you have a list of users, like 100 users are there, and let's say user is searching something. Every time whenever you perform the search, you need to extract certain values and show it, correct? If you use an array, every time you need to perform a filter. Instead, if you use a map, you could exactly go and pick that key. The operation is big O of 1. In case of array, the operation is big O of n, okay? In all the cases, please use the map. Use extensively so your code looks more and more proficient by using the map. Again, what is the weak map? Again, the primary difference is that only, where the garbage collection, where as long as any particular element is not having any reference in a weak map, they can get removed from the can be garbage collected. Here it is not. It will not be like, as long as at least one is having a reference, no keys or in the entire map itself is not removed from the memory. Okay. That's all about map, weak map, sets and weak set. This is very important for interview, also for your day-to-day activity. I highly recommend, like, please understand this concept in depth so that it's not just for the interview, just for even day-to-day learning. Now let's go to question number 7, a very important question again. So demonstrate removing duplicates from the sorted array using both set and vanilla JavaScript method. Let's understand like how actually this question works. So basically what is asked, let's say we have given an array that has like duplicate elements. What we need to do is we need to return an array that has only unique elements, correct? What we are doing is the one approach is set. As I already explained, set basically contains only unique elements, correct? So where we have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, we are creating just new set of numbers, we passed it to it, okay? Then we are getting unique numbers array, whatever the set we had, we are just spreading it to make it into array and we are returning it. Very simple. So the only disadvantages with this approach is you are creating a new set. So the memory is doubled, correct? Because almost except the duplicate elements, whatever the memory that numbers would take, the same is also taken by the set as well, correct? And we're also forming another array here and to return. Okay, maybe this can be avoided, or sometimes the interview this cannot be considered like the space complexity, but definitely it is another big O of n plus big O of n, that much space. Again, n space complexity is required to process this. The second approach is filter, which is again interesting thing. There are multiple ways actually how you could find using the default methods. Here I'm using the filter and index of, okay? So how we are doing is, let's say we are filtering value, index and self. Value basically represent this, index basically represent the index of the value, self basically represent number itself, okay? Now what we're checking here, return self dot index of value is equal to index. This is very interesting if you observe. So index of will return the index of the value, where it is present actually, or the occurrence of it. Like for example 1, right? So it will tell like it is occurred on the, it is having the 1 index. Let's say it is present in 2 indexes, correct? Then it index of it return 2 indexes where it is present. And if it is not real present, it will return the -1. So let's say if index of 1 is not 1, or that particular index, correct? So in that case, it is understood that the element is already present. So that is how we are doing the filter approach. Reduce we could use a simple for loop to remove the duplicate elements. Bubble sort also we could use. Many other approach, not bubble sort actually, you could use any sorting techniques, and then also you could remove. Multiple approaches are there. One approach I thought of explaining. So this is round 1 of EPAM, where they've asked around 7 different questions in the interview. I've already made round 2 and round 3 questions also. It's already available on my folder. All I want is the comment, like if you want like me to make a round 2 and round 3 video, again there are more very interesting questions. This is just around JavaScript. Round 2 and round 3 is also having the React.js and some amount of the system design also. If you want me to make video, please mention in the comment section, like the video, subscribe to my channel. That I'll be more than happy to make more such video about the